Man, is it just me or does it feel like we've been waiting in line for like 3 years? We're just all waiting to see if we're going to be right and if Bitcoin and crypto are actually going to have a bull market due to the 4 year cycle or whatever. Or if, like some people are saying, we're going to actually see a new Great Depression and crypto's not going to ever make it back and it turns out to be rat poison squared. That's like my least favorite thing, waiting in line. I really hate it. It's like waiting in traffic. It's the worst thing in the world. But it's like we're getting to the point where you can start seeing people getting on the roller coaster and you know it's about to be so much fun and you've been standing in line in the heat for so long. Or you can see the flashing lights of the first responders and you know that you're about to get out of the traffic and be going 80 miles an hour down the highway again. We've been seeing all kinds of great news like the BlackRock Bitcoin ETFs and all of the other spot ETFs that have been applied for. The SEC lost the lawsuit against XRP. And we've finally seen the Fed actually do the first pause. Maybe it was a skip, but it seems like they have been coming to the end of their rate hike cycle. So pretty soon, I think we're going to be getting out of this traffic and we're going to be getting on that roller coaster. And soon enough, crypto is going to be taking off and going to the moon again. But the anticipation seems to be the most intense at the end. Let me know in the comments, have you guys been feeling the same way, or am I the only one that feels like this whole thing is just dragging out? And let's go ahead and get into some charts so we can see how close we are to really taking off. Here we have the MVRV Z-score. It's a Bitcoin chart that uses blockchain analysis to identify periods where Bitcoin is extremely over or undervalued relative to its fair value. In other words, whenever it comes up and touches this red area, it's overbought, and then when it comes down to this green area, it's oversold. And that usually indicates the tops and the bottoms of the markets. But as you can see, whenever we do come out of this green area, usually it means that we're starting to begin the slow and steady rise into the bull market. And then when the price starts going parabolic and this yellow line gets into this red territory, you probably want to start taking some profits because that probably means that we're reaching the end of the bull market. A lot of people think that we're going to come back down and retest the lows, or that we're going to even make lower lows and go down to about $10,000. But I disagree with that because, as you can see in the past, whenever we have gotten out of this green area, usually we don't end up going back, with the single exception of March 2020, which was a black swan event. And even though that is the definition of a black swan event, I don't really see a black swan event coming. I believe that we've already seen the lows and we're probably not going to be coming back into this green territory. In my opinion, it's probably going to be mostly up from here, but we could definitely go sideways for a while like we did in previous bull markets whenever it began and we just had recently got out of the green territory like we have now. Here we have the net unrealized profit and loss, or the NUPL. And that basically means that the blue line is essentially a representation of how much profit or loss there is in the Bitcoins that haven't been bought or sold recently. Whenever this blue line gets down into this green area or the capitulation zone, that means that most people that are holding Bitcoin are actually in a loss. And whenever it gets up into this red area or into the euphoria section, it means that most people that are holding are actually in a profit, and it's probably a good time to take some profits. Again, in past cycles, usually whenever this blue line gets up out of the green line, it doesn't really dip back down into it, with the single exception of March of 2020. And I don't think that we're going to be doing that again, at least not in this cycle, because I don't think there's going to be another black swan event like we saw in March of 2020. Currently, we are in the optimism and anxiety range, and it looks like we are probably going to be continuing to go to the upside here, but we probably won't start to see what a lot of people are going to call the major bull run until we get up into the belief and denial area, because that's when the Bitcoin price starts to go parabolic. That usually happens, it looks like, whenever Bitcoin reaches about the all-time high, and that's whenever the media is going to start talking about Bitcoin again, and a lot of people are going to be pouring money back in. And that's how we get to the euphoria stage, so that means that you probably want to start looking into taking some profits around that time. For now, though, it looks like we still have some ways to go, and we could continue to be in this optimism and anxiety section for quite some time. As you can see, we did that in the past. One thing that could send us to the upside is a continuation of the Fed's pause, but with a 99.9 or 99.8% chance of them actually doing another 25 basis point hike, it doesn't look like that's probably going to be happening. However, if it did happen, it would obviously be a huge shock, and I think it would be sending us probably going up pretty steeply. Another thing is that the U.S. lawmakers could possibly talk some sense into Gary Gensler, which is probably doubtful, but they're trying because, as you can see, they have proposed the SEC chair consider legislation and not enforcement approach to crypto. Representative Dusty Johnson said that the SEC cannot continue to regulate by enforcement, that the lawsuits filed against the digital asset firms are not protecting the public and are stifling innovation through growth. Then he followed it up with a letter to the SEC chair, and in the letter to Gensler dated July 19th, Representatives French Hill and Dusty Johnson suggested legislation was a more effective approach to addressing regulatory issues in the digital asset space rather than the SEC's position to regulate by enforcement. Hopefully, with Congress starting to come down on Gary Gensler and tell him that he needs to back off of cryptocurrency, and with him losing the lawsuit against the XRP or Ripple, maybe he's going to realize that he doesn't have as much authority over cryptocurrency as he once thought he did, and he might even put forth some clear legislation so that he could possibly even save his job. If that were to happen, then it would definitely be a boon for the whole cryptocurrency space, and it could be a catalyst that could send us going up and have the mainstream media start to finally confirm that we're going into a bull market so that all of the sheep and normies can start to jump on the train. In other news, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. vows to back the US dollar with Bitcoin if elected president. He's not going to fully back it with Bitcoin. Supposedly, it's going to be gold and silver and stuff like that too. But politicians say all kinds of things just for you to get them elected, and then they go back on that and just try to take your rights away, especially if they belong to this party right here. So this isn't going to sway me, and I'm not going to be voting for this guy. But it is good to see some presidential candidates starting to be pro-cryptocurrency, because I think if that starts to gain them popularity, then we're going to see other candidates follow suit. In more positive news, according to this article by Yahoo Finance, the US SEC has accepted 6 spot Bitcoin ETF proposals for review. This doesn't mean that they've been accepted or approved for actually to start trading, but it does mean that they have accepted the proposals so that they can move forward vetting them and doing due diligence to see if they can actually approve them, and this thing can start to finally move forward. Let me know if you guys think that they can get this done by the end of the year. Finally, according to this article by CNBC, gross, NASDAQ pauses crypto custody plans, citing the shifting regulatory climate. Not too long ago, the NASDAQ announced that they were actually going to be trying to release a crypto custody business. And now I guess since Coinbase has been named as the custodian in most of the Bitcoin spot ETF applications, it looks like maybe things are just not going their way and it doesn't look viable for them. So it looks like they're stepping back for now. And they're saying it's because of the regulatory climate. I don't think this is really bad news, though. I just think they're getting out of the way of Coinbase because BlackRock is the most powerful asset manager in the world, apparently. So it looks like they must be telling them what to do or something like that. But regardless of all of the good news that we've been seeing Bitcoin basically go sideways, with it sitting right now at $29,925 at the time of recording. But fortunately, it is still looking like it's in this trading range and it hasn't officially broke down yet. So there is still hope that it's going to break to the upside and continue its way up to $40,000. But I wouldn't honestly be surprised if this thing just continues sideways for the next week until we see the Fed meeting. Or if it even heads one direction right now and then in a week when we get the Fed meeting, it totally reverses and goes the opposite direction. In other words, basically whatever happens between now and the Fed meeting might be just pointless, and it might not matter because still until the Fed announces that they're going to be basically adding money back to their balance sheet, people are going to perceive that liquidity is not going back into crypto and we might just keep going sideways. Either way though, it looks like there is some light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully we are going to continue rising and going up into this bull market, heading back towards the all-time high. Because whenever we get there, I think that's whenever the mainstream media and everybody's going to start flooding back into cryptocurrency, and this thing is going to go to the moon. And remember, the halving is in less than a year, so there's only a limited amount of time to accumulate and get ready for that parabolic move. And let me know what you think in the comments. What's actually going to be the catalyst that sends us rip into the upside? Either way, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye. This is Abisu. He's named after one of the 7 lucky gods of Japan. According to legend, he will bring wealth and prosperity to anybody who evokes his name. So don't forget to write his name in the comments, or you'll bring dishonor to your whole portfolio. And check out this video right here. Say goodbye, Abisu.